Hello and welcome. Today we're going to explore 5 different ways in which your intuition may speak to you in daily life so you can develop your ability to receive and follow through on that intuitive guidance. So, to set the stage for this topic, we have to start by discussing Roberto Assagioli. Assagioli, he was an Italian psychiatrist and one of the greatest psycho-spiritual teachers, really, of the last 2 centuries. He doesn't get talked about enough, say, to the level of a Carl Jung, for example. But actually, Jung was Assagioli's friend and colleague. So certainly there was a connection there, just to put that into context. So Assagioli was also the founder of Psychosynthesis. This is a full model for psychospiritual development, hugely influential on modern spirituality and modern psychology. One of the key concepts that Assagioli came up with is the idea of sub-personalities, which are different aspects or parts that we each hold and carry within ourselves. So this was actually the precursor to IFS, or internal family systems, which you might be familiar with and has become very popular in recent years. So this has its origins back with Assagioli and psychosynthesis. So I bring up Assagioli in this discussion of intuition and developing your intuition because he also came up with this concept of the 6 psychological functions. The 6 psychological functions. And these are basically forms of awareness and also tools of awareness that we use as humans to navigate life. So let me first just list these 6 psychological functions, and then we'll go through them one by one, and we'll talk about how intuition comes into play. So the 6 psychological functions are sensation, feeling, impulse/desire, imagination, thought, and what do you know? The last one is intuition. So intuition is actually listed as and seen as one of these functions. So Assagioli lists intuition as one of these 6, but we could also say that intuition speaks to us through all of these other functions that we have just listed. So we can see this as channels through which your intuition and higher self can speak to you. So let's go through these one by one. And it's important to say here that for each of us, we tend to have a few of these that are stronger or more active, more developed than others of these 6 or 5 functions. This is totally normal. So if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment below letting me know which of these functions or intuitive channels are the strongest and most developed for you, and which ones do you feel could be strengthened or further developed. So let's go through the list of these 5 and examples of how intuition, which is the 6th function, may speak through each of them. So let's start with sensation. And this is really about receiving intuitive hits, intuitive nudges and hunches, and intuitive information, really, through and in your physical body. Sensation, in spiritual circles, we might also call this clairsentience, which is one of the clairs, where you might pick up information through bodily sensations. So this could include, for example, maybe you're in the middle of a meditation and you feel energy running up and down your legs or up and down your arms or your torso. Or let's say if you're getting acupuncture, and when that needle goes in and you feel almost like something, exploding a little bit. So energy exploding, or energy suddenly moving where it used to be blocked or it used to be stuck. So sensation can include feeling this energy running or coursing through your body. It could also include feeling different temperatures, right? So a room getting really cold all of a sudden, or you just starting to feel really hot and warm as energy is moving through you, or you are receiving some kind of information, or feeling, prickliness or constriction or tightness in the chest. That can be intuitive information, maybe about, you need to get out of here, wherever it is that you are, or feeling in opposite, or instead of that, feeling like, oh, I feel so warm and I feel so open, and my chest and my heart are expanding when I am in the presence of a particular person or in a particular place or environment, which is really your intuition letting you know, move more towards that. So your intuition is saying move towards something or move away from something, and it can certainly use your body as a vehicle to send you that information. So that's number one, sensation. Let's move to number two, the second function, which is feeling and emotion. So this is, it still falls under the category, generally speaking, of clairsentience, because clairsentience is also about feeling and receiving information through emotions. So again, this could be something like, oh, when I'm in the presence of this person, I feel happiness. I feel a sense of joy. I feel peace, which are emotions, right? Or oppositely, being in a place or situation where the emotions are more like, oh, I feel so anxious, or I feel depressed, I feel down, or I feel this nervousness when I'm in this place or in this relationship or this interaction or whatever it might be. So, paying attention to your emotions is so important because that can be another form of intuitive communication for you. Let's move into function number three, which is impulse desire. So impulse slash desire. And as the name implies, this is about getting those intuitive nudges that very strongly, often, will move you towards something, right? So suddenly getting a strong desire or impulse to call someone on the phone, or to check up on someone, or getting a strong impulse to, oh, I have to sign up for this course or this class immediately, or I have to buy this book because your intuition is letting you know there's something really meaningful for you there. So impulse desire is also, or we can also associate it with those moments when we might get these impulses that are sometimes not logical or rational, or might fall outside of the scope of our quote unquote just normal everyday behavior. Because that impulse desire, it could be your intuition asking you to stretch beyond your comfort zone in some way, or to be spontaneous in some important way that's going to lead you to greater expansion or evolution, or to an important lesson of some kind that you have to experience. So that's impulse desire. The next function we're going to be looking at is imagination. And this one is a little bit kind of like clairvoyance, if we're talking about the clairs too, because imagination happens so much through your mind's eye and maybe even through your third eye if you have that opened and developed. So imagination, this can happen through daydreams, for example. It could also happen through dreams that you have at night while you're sleeping, when your subconscious is communicating with you, and your intuition can also communicate with you through dreams. But if you're someone who just your whole life has been a daydreamer, or someone, who can just get lost in imagery, and you can just see like full movies playing in your mind's eye. And maybe those movies sometimes involve seeing yourself doing something in the future, for example. Right? So you might have this daydream where you see yourself living in a particular place or moving somewhere, or buying a particular kind of house, or living, with your soulmate, and you see an image of that soulmate from the future, so to speak. So that could be your intuition, again, letting you know these are the things that are possible, these are the things that are in your energy field, and you're being called to move towards them and to start manifesting them. So that's imagination. And finally, we need to look at the function of thought. And again, this is self-explanatory, but your intuition can speak to you through thought, or chunks of information that kind of just fall into your lap. We might call these downloads of intuitive guidance or divine guidance. We can also think of this as claircognizance, which is when you just know about something, or you know something, again, even if it is not logical or rational, but you just know, even if you don't know how you know in your gut and in your heart when something is true. So that is your intuition speaking to you through thought as well. And thought can also involve just, so as we said, chunks of information. It could be words or insights that you suddenly just receive from your intuition and from the universal field around you. So it could be sentences, it could be phrases asking you to do something, or suggesting that you explore something in your life, which again is your intuition saying, move more towards this, right? There's something for you to explore over here. So those are the 5 functions through which intuition, as the 6th function, can speak to us and communicate with us. So part of the work of developing your intuition in all of these ways is to consider, first of all, how do you tend to receive intuitive messages or guidance? So through which of these forms? Which of these forms are dominant for you, right? So for example, for me, it tends to be thought and imagination, and to some extent, impulse, desire. And I have a little bit of a less developed feeling or emotion function. So sometimes we have some of these intuitive channels or ways of receiving that are a little bit or a lot shut down or suppressed, or we've disavowed them in some way, maybe because of messages that we received growing up, maybe messages from parents, family, schooling, religion, culture. So, for example, you might have gotten the message at some point that you need to shut down your imagination and your imaginative faculties. Maybe you were a daydreamer as a child and you got in trouble at school because of it, right? Maybe you were punished for daydreaming in school, and sort of, being outside of reality in some way, if people were perceiving it that way. Or maybe for you, impulse desire has been shut down. We often hear people in this modern world kind of saying, I don't even know my own desires. Like, I don't even know what it is that I want for myself and my life, separate from what everyone else might want or expect for me. So sometimes we have to do this work of reclaiming these psychological and intuitive functions. Um, and so for impulse desire, that might mean, you have to reclaim a little bit of your spontaneous nature, and let go of some of those rigid rules or expectations from the past or that maybe someone else has imposed onto you at some point. Also, it's important to mention that each of these functions has a shadow side, especially if we take them to extremes. So let's think about, no pun intended, let's think about thought. So thought certainly can get us into a lot of trouble if we take it to extremes. If we are spending most of our time intellectualizing, overanalyzing things, shutting down our physical sensation and physical body, shutting down our emotions or feeling capacity. That, of course, can get us into trouble because it creates this lack of balance in your entire system. So we have to temper each one of these functions and not go to extremes, privileging one of them far above the rest, and just being mindful that if we have one of them that is extremely dominant, we might need to bring that more into balance with all of the other functions. So here are some additional questions to take home with you for reflection and to further develop your intuition, as we have been talking about, and your ability to hear and to connect to your intuition and to receive intuitive guidance. So here's one of the questions. What happens when you don't listen to your intuition or you try to override it? So, for example, if your body or your emotions are telling you one thing, maybe your body is telling you, get out of this relationship or get out of this meeting, or get out of this country, like whatever your intuition might be saying through your body. But you rationalize that because you go to your thought and your thinking faculties, which could be really strong. So maybe you rationalize this in some way, or you override it with intellectualizing or mental analysis. When you do that, what has been the outcome of this in the past, of this overriding, or not really listening, or hearing your intuition, but then kind of doing the opposite thing, which sometimes we also do because we are human after all. So just consider, what has been your pattern in the past? What is your relationship to your intuition today? Where is that today? And what happens when you override it? What have been the outcomes of that in the past? It's really important to get into clarity and honesty about that so that we don't repeat the same old patterns. Another thing you can do is to do an experiment for one day or a couple of days. And so the experiment is to make a decision when you wake up in the morning that you're going to go through your day paying close attention to your intuition and to your intuitive hunches and nudges and insights as much as possible. that you're really going to pay close attention to your impulses and desires that come from deep within, in your heart, in your belly, at a soul level. And as much as possible, follow that inner guidance when you pick up on it to see where it leads you. Now, I know we have to be realistic, and sometimes in life, you are going to have moments where you perceive some intuitive guidance, but you can't physically act on it immediately. You can't physically follow that intuitive guidance immediately because you might be at a work meeting, right? Or driving or taking care of whatever in your daily life. Or you might receive that intuitive guidance and then maybe it triggers some fear, or you don't quite know how to follow through on that guidance. So, even in those moments when it might not be possible to immediately follow through on it, it's so important to internally acknowledge the guidance that you're picking up on and to thank your higher self for the messages that it's sending you. So maybe saying something like, Dear intuition, dear higher self, I hear you. I hear you. I hear and I receive what you're sending me in this moment. I receive your message and I can't quite follow through on this guidance right now, but I'm going to do my best to honor it, even if it takes a slightly different form at the end of the day, or if it takes a bit of time for me to fully get this or to fully understand how to apply this guidance in my life. Thank you for being on my side, dear intuition. And I look forward to continuing to work together. So that's kind of a little script that you can take and tweak and see how that works for you. This kind of inner acknowledgement is so powerful and will let your intuition know that you are paying attention, you are listening, you are willing to receive its messages. So you are open and you are doing your very best to honor its guidance. So it can continue supporting you and helping you navigate your way through the world and growing as much as you are here to grow. Thank you for being here. Please know that I am a real human just like you, and your presence here means the world to me. So if you are watching this on YouTube, again, please leave a comment below, just letting me know which of these psychological and intuitive functions is the strongest for you. Which one are you going to be working on a little bit? And wherever you're listening to this or watching this, please subscribe. Please leave a like or rating or review. It really does help more people to find my channel, my podcast, this work, and hopefully brings value to more of those people out there. I would love to see you in the next one. Please take really good care of yourself in the meantime. Bye bye.